Yeah, I saw you. Whenever I see that happening, I like rush in here. I'm like, no, he's talking to a ghost.
It's okay.
Oh, the camera guy's a ghost.
Some people place ghosts inside a world to get more attention in the featured tab, right? Did you see that?
Oh,
I didn't
totally.
know
Some
that.
people have like 2 computers on and just to be featured.
No,
higher.
I'll do that sometimes. It works, I tell you, because like, there's only 2 or 3 worlds that people are engaging with, and so people see,
Yes.
this room has 3 people and this one has 2 people. They pick the one with 3,
Yes.
So it's like a bot. It's like bots, basically.
or
I
just
mean-
like this, where I just have my other computer up and it registers as having a second account in here.
Gotcha. Cool. But yeah, so like he won't do anything. He's just recording like a video stream.
Yeah, I can move him around and freak people out, but other than that,
But he's looking at me.
yeah, him.
That guy's not real. Don't trust him.
Cool. Well, people will kind of trickle in over the next 30, 40 minutes. That's how this goes. But since you're here, I think we might as well dive into it. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing. Got a bunch of questions. Real excited to chat with you. Hello to everyone on Twitch. We're here with Ryan Engle from ProPuttVR. And you want to start just by introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Ryan Engle, founder of Golf Scope, which is the name of the company that we founded before. Yep.
Do you know how to turn off like when you walk, like that bubble shit?
No,
I don't.
We're gonna run a bit of an interview here, so.
Welcome to the world of alt space. Just like real interviews.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, been interested in VR for a long time, and we created Topgolf with ProPutt for the Quest, and pretty excited to continue building that out and watch the VR space grow.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I guess the first question is, how did you come across this idea? Are you yourself an avid golfer? Have you always wanted to do something in this space?
Yeah, I've been playing golf since I was 11 and writing code since I was like 13. So kind of
golf?
eventually just combine those two things. I do.
I play golf.
Here, let me
Have
kick
you
this
played
guy out. Sorry.
Topgolf?
Kick
Oh,
him.
my
Why?
bad. For what?
So, yeah, it's a long story. Okay, sorry. So you've been playing golf since you're 11 years old, so it's a natural fit for you. You're a big fan. And I saw you guys also have an iOS app, right? So what was the journey there?
Yeah, so it's an AR app, and it uses your phone to scan the green, and then it shows you the contours, and it shows you the break from the ball to the hole. So on a golf green, it's never completely flat. It's always going to roll left or right or up or down. And we used, effectively kind of like photogrammetry to reconstruct the green in real time and then show you which way the ball's going to roll. So it's like kind of like a caddy for you on the green. And that's what got the business started. And then after that, kind of realized mobile AR is basically a dead end unless you're doing face filters. At least that's my opinion. And it's really hard to change people's behavior. And on a golf course, there's a lot of there are a lot of unspoken traditions and a lot of people that think the game should be played a certain way. And, it's a tough place to change behaviors. It's like a 150-year-old game. So we decided to go in a different direction. And when the Quest came out, it's like, oh my gosh, here's a really cool headset that's wireless. It won't get in the way of your swing. There aren't very many experiences for it. Maybe we can build a legit golf experience and use this physics engine we created for the putting and just port it over to Quest, see if we can make a game that was fun. And that's kind of how the whole thing got started.
That's great. On the AR side, I mean, it makes total sense why you would have, pivoted a little bit to this new, more exciting device. But were you generally happy with the usage numbers you were seeing? Like, are people using that app?
Some people still are. It was free and we did subscription. But the golf's fun. You might play once a week or something, right?
Shut up, faggot! Shut
up,
faggot!
Man. I forgot how great VR is.
This actually never happens really.
That's okay. I think
I think I just pissed that guy off. Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
attracting the popular kids.
Golf is so controversial.
just like the golf course, yeah. No, it's it's tough because people play once a week, so it takes some time to see if they are retained. And the reality is, some people got really into it, but most people would try it and then not continue to use it. And Apple featured it, so we got a lot of initial downloads, and because it was free, a lot of people would try it. Some people would subscribe. The numbers were okay, but it was like, off by like 10x to the point where we could afford to grow a team around it. So it's like, keep investing in this thing that frankly, I just don't think, I think has a behavioral problem. It's not like once the tech's better or like, it's like AR needs a different form factor. And who knows when that's going to happen? Who knows when AR glasses are going to happen? So once we kind of came to that realization that like this isn't just like a 10% growth over the next year, we'll be fine. We pivoted into VR, which seems like it's got a much clearer path. Charge $20 for a game, make a game people like to play, and you can grow a business around that. Plus, I think the VR market is just in a really good spot to grow over the next to probably 10x over the next 5 to 10 years.
Totally. So you see the Quest come out. You have you're already working on golf related stuff, and you have this idea. Oh, the Quest would be perfect for putting VR app. What was your next step? Did you build a prototype yourself? Did you go recruit team members? What'd you do?
We built a prototype. So I did have a team from the Golf Scope process. I had hired a few people, combination of golfer, designers, another developer. And step one was basically Quest comes out, take a week off, try to port the physics engine over. It had all been done in SceneKit for iOS, and I wanted to port it to Unity for the Quest. So ported all the physics over, and by the end of the week, the goal was to just have it set up so I could hit a putt and see what it felt like. Because, it has to feel like you're hitting a putt, otherwise it's just not going to work. And by the end of the week, that's what happened. And we got it, got it running and got it set up and had hole 7 at Pebble Beach, where they have US Open that year. This is like 2019. Had hole 7 set up, and I took all the putts from Tiger Woods that year and, put the hole in the same spot, had a scan of the green. So all the contours matched up. I saw where his ball was each different day and had these 4 putts that you could rotate through. So you could hit Tiger's first putt and, see if you could effectively beat him on this exact same putts on the same hole, same green and everything. And, showed that with the team. And I think we were just kind of unanimously like, wow, this feels like golfing. And that, from there, we're like, okay, well, do we do a training app? Or do we build a game? Or, what's the process to even get in the Oculus store? And, so after we got the prototype working and the team agreed, like, okay, we should pursue this, then we had to figure the rest out.
Yeah, and so tell me about that process, because, that's a wide range of decisions you're kind of having to choose between. And I remember when we talked about this in Austin, one of the ideas you were heavily considering was doing some kind of competitive sponsored event. And I'm curious, where did you end up with that idea, and where did it lead you?
Yeah, so we found out that believe it or not, there's a company called MSOP, which stood for the Major Series of Putting. And they had like a yearly tournament and, a pretty big crowd of people that would compete in this thing, where people would go to Vegas and do this sort of grand finals event where you would putt to win like $100,000 or some decent amount of money. And we contacted them and showed them the VR thing. And, their biggest issue with scaling it was just the fact that they had to have representation at all these golf courses. So logistically, they're trying to have somebody everywhere across the country, whereas in VR, everyone can come to you, and you can still take these courses and bring them into VR. So logistically, we kind of had a good solution for them, and we showed them, and the conversation went somewhere. But when it got to the question of distribution, that's where things started to get trickier. It's like, most golfers don't have a Quest or a VR, have maybe never used VR. Getting them to buy into VR to do this putting thing that they've never tried is a big challenge, because I'm sure all of you guys who have done VR know, it's like you tell your friends about it. Some of them get excited, some of them don't. Eventually they try it and they're like, oh my God, this is so much cooler than I thought. I get it. And we would do demos with golfers, and a lot of golfers are older, so they're even more, skeptical. And we'd show people and they'd get really excited. But before showing them, they would be like, yeah, I don't think this is a game. It's like Wii Golf. It's not real. So it was just too hard to market to the core crowd of golfers, even though the tech was probably good enough. So from that point, we kind of, we actually reached out to Topgolf, and we had talked to them during the Golf Scope days. And we reached out to Topgolf and we showed them a demo, and they thought it was really interesting. They didn't have any plans on doing anything in VR at the time. So they said, all right, if you guys want to keep taking this forward, maybe we could figure something out. And OC6, the Oculus Connect 6, was coming up. And they said, hey, we'll get you a meeting with someone at Facebook at OC6 if you can put together a demo. So I said, okay. So we were like, okay, OC6 is coming up. Let's put together a demo. And spent the next month or so putting together a little demo where it was effectively like a putt-putt course, basically. And got to OC6, and the meeting is titled Oculus and Topgolf. And it doesn't mention anything about our business, which is awesome. I'm like, great, no one knows Golf Scope anyway. So they're going to think we're Topgolf. So we go into the meeting, pitch the game to the two guys in the meeting. We're both golfers, so they were super into it. They hit the Tiger Woods putts. We showed them that demo, and the one guy was, in there for 20 minutes just hitting putts, ignoring the rest of the meeting. And they bring over the guy that's, the head of the store, and he checks it out, and he's like, this is great. Send us your pitch deck. We'll take a look at it, but based on what I'm seeing, this should be, a no-brainer. And we leave the meeting, and Oculus approves our pitch, and then we use the fact that they the pitch to get a deal on golf. So
That's awesome.
Kind of did it all backwards, but it worked out really well. Oculus was looking for brands, so bringing in somebody like Topgolf, gave us a lot of benefit, and then Topgolf is like, let's see what you guys can do. And they kind of let us run with it and put out the game, and now they're really excited to, and then COVID hit, right, which shut down their locations for quite a while, the Topgolf locations. So it put us on front and center as one of the new things that they were involved with that shows Topgolf is bigger than COVID, and it's forward thinking and all of that stuff. So that plus VR success and the Quest 2 and everything is just kind of snowballed into a much different situation than a year ago, where we were, quote unquote, a game studio that had never launched a game, that was trying to build something for the Quest for the first time and figure it out with a team of 4 people, working with, Topgolf, who's the big dog. And now, now we're talking about extending our relationship with them and different ways that we can work with each other, and how we can continue to build in real golf features into the game, while recognizing that the Quest is still totally a gamer's device.
That's a fascinating story. And, a lot of people come in here and they tell us about the great struggles they have getting accepted by Oculus. It's not, everyone does not have an equally kind of easy path to get in there. And I think your approach of leveraging the credibility of a partner to make that introduction is something we see a lot from companies that are successful doing this. If you were to give advice to a younger developer about how to get in the door with a company like Topgolf, what would you say? How did you approach them? What was your message?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think authenticity is the most important thing, and not pretending to be anything that you're not. But coming in with the mission and coming in with confidence too. I told my team, because folks on my team are like, what are you going to do if Oculus doesn't approve our pitch? And I said, I'm going to go fly to their office and sit outside of someone's office till they do. Like, our business is dead if we don't get this approved. So everybody at the company has to work assuming it's going to get approved. Otherwise, we're dead anyway. So let's just assume that we're already approved. Now, how do we make a game people want to play, which is more important than getting approved? And, you know, with Topgolf, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, look, we knew they weren't doing anything in the VR space. We knew that we could build a good VR experience. We really like what their brand has done for golf, and just in general, it's a very, you know, entertaining, likable brand. And we went in there and told them, you know, what we were planning to do. And we started with a partnership that really de-risked it for them, you know, a rev share agreement. As long as we don't butcher their brand, they're not risking as much. And we showed them consistent updates. We said, hey, we're going to do this. Here's what, you know, we're planning on accomplishing next month. We'd show them the update next month, and we would do whatever it took to get that done. So, you know, I think it's just, I feel like the reality is, if you just do what you say you're going to do, you're going to beat 90% of the people you're up against.
That's awesome.
So it's just being consistent. It's just being consistent, and then being honest. And then, you know, every once in a while we'd say we were going to do something and it was clear that we weren't going to make it. So as soon as we found out, we would tell them like, hey, look, it's 3 days from the deadline, but here are the things we ran into. We're not going to hit the deadline. So here's what we're going to do instead. Versus like getting to the deadline and being like, you know, sorry, we don't have anything for you.
Totally. That's really interesting. I'll just ask a few more questions because I'm sure everyone else has stuff to say as well. So, you know, you launched the app, and I'll put you on the hot to hear is like, you know, you shared a revenue graph on Twitter that did not have a y-axis conveniently, right?
Yeah.
So, are you happy with the way sales have gone? Are you able to support your team, kind of take care of some of those basic operational things?
Yeah, so after we first launched, we had a really nice spike, and you know, we had no idea what to expect. No one's been sharing numbers. We don't know how many headsets there are out there even today. So we didn't know what to expect. But after we launched, we see the numbers like, oh my God, this is amazing. We're a small team. Like, this is great. We're going to be fine. And then, you know, over time, it shrinks week over week, which is pretty normal. And then, you know, Oculus stopped selling the Quest, and they haven't announced the Quest 2 yet. And there's this huge lull where we're not selling much at all. And we're like, I don't think we're going to make it. Like, what do we do now? You know, we bet everything on this. Like, the reviews are good. And then the Quest 2 comes out and everything's back, and we're like, okay, this is great. We're covering our bases again. We're good. And then Christmas comes, and everyone told us Christmas was going to be something like a big deal. And we saw Black Friday and we saw Christmas, and you know, now we're in a position where we can afford to grow the team and everything. But there were definitely some moments where it was like, I have no idea how we're gonna survive this. Like, we're not making enough to cover payroll. Should we go raise money? Should we go to Topgolf? Should I put in money myself? You know, thankfully Christmas came around.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you handle that early funding? Were you self-funding that until you got traction, or did you have outside funding?
We had an angel investor put in money right from the beginning. I've always paid my team with equity and salary. That's like important to me. But I haven't paid myself until we got to the point where we were making money. And paying back the debt and some of the angel investment into equity.
Awesome.
So no VC
okay,
money at the moment.
No, good for you, man. I mean, you guys have a leg up for that reason, for sure. I got two more questions for you. One is, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, Ryan was the CTO at WikiBuy, which was a large, was it kind of e-commerce infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
That was acquired, and I imagine, you know, during the process of being in that role, you probably developed a fairly extensive network of software engineers that you know and trust, and that kind of thing, right? Is that network, did that network end up being really valuable to you as you built out your team, or were you looking for more fresh folks that were focused on VR?
Yeah, that's pretty. Most of the folks stayed at Wikibuy, and obviously, I didn't want to hire away from them.
Sure.
And I think we probably had a contract in place saying I wasn't going to do that. So, haven't hired anyone from Wikibuy. And we only have one other dev right now. So as of right now, I actually met him on the plane ride to WWDC in 2018, right after I had launched the AR app. And we happened to be sitting next to each other on the plane, struck up a conversation. He was a really cool guy, super knowledgeable, a lot younger than me. And eventually we stayed in touch. And when we started working on this thing, he started contracting on the side because he was interested in getting into the VR space. And then eventually we hired him. So that's kind of another, point to make, is like the network really does matter. And it's like, you never know where you're going to meet somebody. So it's always great to have these conversations and see what comes of it. But I've reached out to quite a few of the Wikibuy folks for advice on how we scale, because I was the CTO at Wikibuy, but I wasn't, I don't have a DevOps background. And really kind of my server knowledge is like pretty high level. So there still are some really smart architects and DevOps people and infrastructure people at Wikibuy that I reach out to and just try to ping them on like, hey, how are you guys? Because they've got millions of customers now. It's time stuff. So experience.
That's awesome. That definitely, saying you never know where you're going to meet the next person you're going to hire definitely resonates for me. And, we just this week hired someone part-time that we actually met in here, which is great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So the last question I'll ask you before I open it up is, when you came into our office in Austin a couple years ago, you had with you a 3D printed accessory.
Yeah.
And the idea was, hey, look, the Quest is kind of this perfect gateway to actually bring the real golf club into VR, so you can have the accurate weight and motion of your swing and add to the immersiveness of the experience. I know you guys have taken twists and turns since then, but I've also seen recently on Twitter you continue to explore that idea. You want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so our first concept when we were really considering attracting serious golfers was, for a serious golfer, they have to be holding their golf club. It's weighted a certain way. It's got a certain grip. It feels a certain way. If they're not holding a golf club, it's just not going to feel like hitting a golf ball. But if you give someone a golf club and they see it in VR and it lines up right and they feel the weight and then they hit the ball and it even vibrates, people just like forget that they're not hitting a real golf ball. We actually did experiments where we would put a golf ball down in the same spot as the virtual one. So they would come back and hit a real ball, and they wouldn't even know the difference. They wouldn't say anything. They'd hit the fake one and get the vibration, then they'd hit a real ball and they wouldn't even know that there was a difference. So people just got really immersed into it, and it was pretty incredible. So I think there's a huge potential for that. One big issue is, most people don't have a house where they have enough room to swing a golf club at like 100 miles an hour, especially like a driver, which is, you would destroy your house if you messed up. So we've been experimenting with how short can we make the club without losing the physics fidelity. With any sort of physical object, the further out it goes, the center of gravity changes. And that has a huge impact on the feel. So we've been experimenting with some 3D stuff that allows us to keep it fairly short, but still feels like you have the weight of a full club. And it's not quite there yet, but it's getting very close. And we're starting to kind of mirror, my own swing. Since I've been playing since I was 11, I've got I have a good understanding of my swing and kind of what I can do with it. Hit it low, hit it high, hit a fade, hit it draw, curve it left, curve it right, and all the different things that you can do with a golf ball. And my buddy has been playing since he was 3, and he's part of the team. So he and I kind of feel like if we can satisfy ourselves, then it'll be there. But we haven't quite done that yet. We're getting closer. And again, it's like one of those things where it's like, now we're talking about an accessory for a VR game. So a niche of a niche. And it's like we just it's a pet project, something that I 100% want to get to, but we just can't justify focusing as much energy on that yet
Sure.
as some other features that would affect a lot more people, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, just to leave off, you know, for everyone watching on the stream, where should we follow up from, you know, with you? What can we do for you as the community? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter. So RENGLE 820 Ryan Engle on Twitter. You can also go to ProPutt.com. That's the name of the game. Or we also have TopGolfVR.com. Our business is 100% focused on golf and VR. So if you like golf or if you don't like golf and you want to check out the game, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. And if you can't afford to buy it or whatever, then I'm sure we can get you a demo or something. Our main mission is really to grow the game of golf, which means we have to attract new people. So even if you hate golf, check it out. If there's anything we can do to make it more fun so that, we are looking to grow and attracting a crowd of people, that's great. At the end of the day, the point of golf is to go play a game with other people and talk to them and socialize. You're out there for like 4 hours on a golf course outside. The weather's usually nice. It's usually a beautiful course. And most of the time you're just talking to the people that you're with. So it's less about the game in many respects, and it's more about the people that you meet out there and just having a good time without like literally trying to kill other people. So it's a very it's an easier way to socialize. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and that's what we're up to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was awesome to hear your perspective, and it's definitely a unique one in our community. And wish you the best of luck, and hopefully you sell a bunch of copies.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Happy to answer any other questions or talk about it with anyone interested.
Cool. Yeah, we'll just open it up. I'm sure other people have questions, even if it takes a few awkward seconds to get them out.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yes, and I was wondering, Ryan, thanks for sharing the story. It's great to hear it. Maybe you can use the device for some other games as well in VR. So not only for a golf device, but also for something else.
Like the 3D printed accessory.
Yes.
Yeah. They have one for table tennis. There's a game called 11 Table Tennis that's really done well. Other than golf, like ping pong, is one of my favorite sports, and I was part of a league before COVID. And with the attachment, it's incredible how accurate it feels and how competitive it can get. So it's great to see, that happening. And I'm really hoping that someone mentioned one with like weights or something for exercise. Because I think it could make weightlifting more fun in some way. I don't know, or boxing or something. I think sports and VR are just such a good fit that sports could be a really nice way of going from kind of the gamer crowd to a more to a wider demographic. So, I think there's a big opportunity there for accessories to kind of bridge that gap and give people tools that make them feel like they're getting better at something in the real world.
Yeah, is he? Where is he? I didn't
Great.
He has on the vest.
Thanks for the question.
So we hired him. Did he tell you that?
I have a kind of quick question. What you're doing socially inside the app, what sort of backend infrastructure are you using for your multi-user?
Yeah, we're using something called Normcore, which is made by Normal VR. Okay.
Yeah, we love
And
normal.
yeah, they've been great. It's they used it for their own multiplayer game on the Quest. We use it for up to 8 people at a time, and it seems to be fine. It's very lightweight, well documented. They've got an amazing Discord channel, and their founder immediately. They're super patient, and they release updates pretty regularly. So It's been great so far. We also have like WebSockets that we run, and we use Firebase for our API right now.
Okay.
And yeah, it's still, we're growing, but it's still a relatively small number of users, so we don't have to worry too much about efficiencies and scale and stuff like that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, thanks. That's so cool. And
I'm
this is
curious
something
with
new.
the Oculus Quest being a kind of closed platform with a relatively small amount of content available on it, if you guys felt like you needed to put any particular attention to advertising for the app, like, I don't know, contacting influencers or something, or if just the size of the platform right now kind of makes it so that if there's an app up there, people will probably see it, and if they're interested, they'll buy it. Any words on that?
Yeah, the closed platform thing is kind of a double-edged sword. It obviously is really rough if you're trying to get in, but once you are in, it's there's less competition, so you are more likely to stand out. So that's definitely helped us as sales have gone well. Oculus is more likely to feature you and put you on sale and put you up there. So definitely the more Oculus can do, that kind of beats anything you can do on your own. Recently, they have allowed you to start targeting people with a Quest for Facebook ads. So that's a brand new program that's still in beta, but that's something that we're excited about, and it looks like it could work really well. But we also tried to run Facebook ads to just like people with the VR interest, and that did not work well at all. It was very expensive to get an install, and you just would have a lot of comments about people, asking when it was going to be available for a different VR platform, or some of these people, maybe just liked VR but didn't have a headset. So it's been tricky there. Influencers, it's hard to track. The tracking and attribution is pretty tough. We think it helps because we see a lot of people, we hear a lot of people comment on them seeing it through an influencer, and just internally it definitely builds our confidence when we get a good review from an influencer. So that's good for the team. But yeah, it's I think the biggest thing for us has been word of mouth and just overall headset sales. We're finding the majority of our sales now are from people searching for the app versus it being featured by Oculus like in the store or like someone browsing for it. So that's why we want to double down on social features, and now you can play with up to 7 people, whereas before when we first launched it was just one other person. So we've seen like a big correlation between how many friends somebody has in the game and how much time they spend playing the game. And our goal is to try to facilitate more friendships, and to introduce more people that are likely to be friends so that they have someone to play with and they can, have that good experience. And then hopefully if like you and your buddy have it and you've got a friend that doesn't have it, that friend's more likely to pick it up.
To the other cameras which are just focused on the stream.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, hopefully it's kind of all over the place right now. There's not one direct channel, but we're hopeful that word of mouth is the one that ultimately works the best.
If that works.
Very cool. I have a question about advertising. With you can actually you can't throw ads inside your app, can you?
I mean, you
don't know.
could. There's no
You
like,
could.
it's not like iAds or, there's nothing built in from Oculus that says turn ads on and we're going to show ads. But we do have a built-in YouTube player. So, we have a big screen similar to this in our venue. And technically, we could put whatever we want on there. We are not doing ads, and we do not plan on doing that type of advertising anytime soon. I think it will start to happen in VR, but right now most experiences are paid, and paid and ads just don't really mesh that well. I think ultimately what we'd like to do is find sponsors. So golf tournaments
Right.
have sponsors. We can kind of go down the same path where maybe a sponsor, puts on a golf tournament and they're going to give away a shirt or a pair of shoes, or whoever wins this tournament could win something in the real world. And then that way they're getting exposure, but it's not like a watch this 30-second ad before you hit your next shot.
Yeah. Do you think golf club behavior is too nuanced to basically bake in different types of golf clubs, like from different brands, and trying to
We're
replicate that feel?
we're hoping that's where it goes. I mean, a lot of players buy the club purely for what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, which is obviously gonna be hard to replicate. Some people are gonna want to play those, even though they don't really know the difference.
Yeah.
So we're banking on that, and golf's one of the only sports where you can wear, pretty much whatever you want. If you watch a golf tournament, every single player has, different set of sponsors, different shoes, different clothes, and what they wear is a big. We're kind of betting on that too in our game, so we're hoping to open it up to have more customization. Oculus is releasing their avatars V2 later this year, and we're planning on integrating that so that you do look more like this, and you can really start to unlock new clothes, unlock clubs, unlock golf gloves, and
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
anybody else have any questions?
Zap out of here and
No pressure.
follow up with you. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Cool. Well, if that's the case, I might track down Justin, and then probably gotta head out to keep coding.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks
coming
for
by.
thanks for
Yes,
listening,
thank you.
everybody.
We'll try it
Hopefully
out.
it was interesting.
So,
Cool.
yeah,
Let's see. I think
thank
that
you.
is. Go for the purple.
We come in and we do every Thursday. We have
Oh, hey,
meetup,
Rob.
and we do
Hey,
an
Tony.
interview, and then
How's it
we
going?
to Twitch.
Good. Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright, thanks. What have you been working on this week?
Yeah, this is live stream. The
I've been working on a little iOS app that we're building for
the need to stick around
some,
longer than you're able to, but
a pet finder app type thing. It's just like a little service deal that we've got going on. So I've been doing some final updates for that and getting it out the door.
yeah, fantastic.
What about yourself?
That'd be fun. And
Nice.
I
Yeah,
also
I've been
brainstorm
bug
who
fixing
else from our community
for
you'd
Grand
enjoy
Reality
talking
in
to, and maybe we
advance
do a
of
panel and I'm
in
up here or something like that.
anticipation of the concert that's happening on Saturday. So we're getting
Nice.
the
Awesome.
guy that played in the last concert just before Christmas to play again, and I'm doing lots of preparation
Awesome.
for that
Well,
at the moment.
thanks for popping in. Take
Very
it easy.
cool.
May your code be bug free.
Yeah, I heard you're gonna be helping us out. That's awesome.
Hey, wait, before you go.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Watch this space.
I'm Ali.
Yeah.
I started my own software company
What was I
recently,
gonna
right?
say?
Before this, I have never, I
I
wasn't
like my
into
little medallion.
electronics like that. But
Yeah, I tried clicking on it, but nothing. It doesn't seem to be working yet.
all had this
Yeah.
dialogue, right?
Yeah, talk to Justin
But
about it.
Yeah.
I think it is working.
getting what I
All
want,
it does
I
is
guess,
show
like,
the
out of
check
my
mark
head,
just
and
to.
then into fruition is kind of
Okay.
Do you see the check mark pop up?
I don't know. It's
I think that
different,
just
Yeah.
means that
because you got to
we've been
learn all these
connected on
codes. Was
spatially.
it hard when you first
If that
started?
shows up.
Right. Okay.
I don't think it's stately.
Like I'm going on.
You
a
would know.
whim.
Got it.
Justin, is that right?
Yeah, like
What?
I'm not. I'm
That
not good
these
with learning
badges
codes. I'm
don't
good with
represent
art.
state
So
Okay.
what I
between two
Um,
people.
the software I
Between
built
two people,
is,
no. The only state that they
Yeah.
have is
I
whether
guess
they were
it'll
just
make
clicked or
it'll
not,
make
and whether this
the
click
art look
succeeded.
real,
Got it.
more real.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
unfortunately, because I mean that would require
And
each person
like
getting the
for
buttons rendered
realistic,
relative to
like
their own account relationships, which
like
is not possible because these are shared world objects.
Oh, I
So
see.
this is kind of the best we can do for now.
Cool.
It's a lot that I want to do. So I
No,
don't
that's
know.
good.
Yeah. Alicia
Like,
didn't
it's
see
like platform.
Alicia from XR Terra was just in here and she didn't see it on my chest, so we must have some bug.
What?
Getting the software.
Yeah. I was like this monkey right here, and she's like, no, I don't know.
You were crazy, sir. I don't.
She's just gaslighting you.
Yeah, she's just gaslighting me. That's great. What's up, Chris? How you doing?
I bought Alien. Alien.
Hey, Helen.
guys.
And but it's like a.
Hello.
How are you?
Such a big.
Helen, how's your project going?
button too.
Android. So
You clicked on it? Do you see it?
it's so weird.
I cannot see my button, no. When I'm looking
Yeah,
down,
you
there's
don't have a
nothing.
button.
Where-
Did
Okay.
you connect your account on Spatial Ape, that's how you would get it.
Getting past.
So if you go to spatialape.com,
on the website. Okay, yeah. Right.
yeah, on the website,
Yeah.
you add your display name, and then you
That's
edit
awesome.
that
There's
in the
a
meetup.
software company.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Right,
They'll hire
right.
you on once you learn their software. Just
No, didn't do that yet.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're just kind of.
said I was gonna do that.
It's like a pot of clay on the wheel. We just make a little change here and there. Keep it going.
Hey, I think
Hi.
that's where.
Um, by the way,
How's
guys,
it going?
for anyone that's not aware, you know you're going to see stuff in here that's broken, stuff on the website that's broken, and the reason that is because we're changing significantly what we're doing in the next couple weeks. You know, historically we've
Nice to meet you.
done a group in an interview every week. Starting to be doing is hosting quite a few different worlds concurrently. So SideQuest is going to have their own world. XR will have a job fair world, and we're going to build out more of like a real conference. And so that's why we have these ideas. Some of the new features on the website. It's not all complete, but it'll come in the next couple weeks.
Oh, I don't know.
So
actually.
hopefully we'll
I
have
think
a
it's
lot
just
more
chat room for
in
people who
here
are
with
doing
us to
AR
do this kind
stuff. I don't
going
know if they're
forward.
Teaching anything.
Go and the quest, the first one. And,
Okay.
Awesome.
So do you know
Um,
how can you do that?
do it, and then-
Yeah, Robin's
I think
put
that
this out in a more
if you go to
capacity, which
that
is gonna be
circle you
awesome
have with like your
for that.
microphone, your smiley
Uh,
face.
oh,
Yes.
If
I'm
you go
in.
to the
yeah.
Hey,
with,
how you doing?
very bottom,
Yeah,
like,
so
box,
Robin,
Robin.
Woodrow is also going to be helping
Woodrow.
with community management.
Oh,
Oh
cool.
yeah.
So yeah, now is not the time for a
Right.
stand-up, but you guys will be
And
kind of
I
working
think in
together.
the main
Nice to meet you,
I'm looking
Woodrow.
forward to it.
you go,
Yeah, nice to
but
meet
I
you.
can't find it.
Hey, Woodrow.
Oh,
I'm Tony.
I found it.
Over here.
There's Tony. Hey, Tony.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
You can
Nice to
just
meet you.
He's one of our partners in spatial
Oh my
cinematics,
God.
so you'll be interacting between and get him out too.
live too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
really
cool.
looking
Okay,
forward to it.
sorry,
I don't think
honestly
I'm
kinda
seeing
new.
the your pin rendered
Okay, me
either.
too.
I see Robin's, but I
Nice
don't see
meeting
yours.
you. See you later.
Okay.
Hmm.
Bye bye. Have fun.
Do
you
I
see
have one?
Robin's and not mine.
No, I don't see Tony's or yours, Justin, but I do see Robin's.
Oh my gosh,
Those were world objects.
they are.
I see they're
They're-
like floating over there by the spawn area. I don't know if they
Oh.
just haven't been moving with you. I see. Yeah, there's one that's just kind of levitating over there.
Oh
Well, that's
my
the game.
gosh.
You have to find them. That's you
I
know.
have so much to do. Yeah, it's been okay, like the different app versions could be messing with it. I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
look at that. I test by myself with a laptop, a PC, and a Quest.
So can you give us a little sneak peek on the conference of what it's going to be? What do you have in mind for that? Do you have any?
Yeah, so it's gonna be the business. We're gonna have all. So, and really the key is like we're community. We're looking for partners that already have their own community and can get people in here every week on Thursday at the same time. And so we're gonna do a job fair. We're gonna do side quests. Like the CEO is gonna come in every week and do interviews with creators. And we got a few others in the works as well. So we want this to be like the definitive place you go do kind of business networking in VR every Thursday.
So it's different, but like when I look at something, I know the difference. Like
So yeah.
everybody has
Cool.
like an off center or
Sounds
you know,
good.
it's 'cause I do a lot of coaching. But
updated market information
I don't know.
on the
So, I
XR
mean, have you
industry,
considered-
I
have you
posted this
considered
on the website, but
focusing
the
more
French
on, like,
embassy in
3D art
Kaleidoscope,
versus
they released a
coding?
report today.
Yeah. Okay. So
That
that's
is
what I want to
basically
do.
an overview
I want
of
to
the
do.
US XR industry,
I want to do the 3D
business
art,
models
right? Like
in the era of COVID.
the texture, the
Hmm.
And it actually contains a really useful map
some
of
stuff like
all the
on
major
VR,
actors
and
in
I
the
look at
industry.
like the
So they
platforms
really,
they got, like the web movies.
I think
Cool.
it was a 10-month project. So
Doing one
anybody looking for
like a web movie
market
or whatever,
information,
or,
look it up. I
you know,
put the link on the
series.
website.
I just
You
want
put it, slave.com, that link.
I
real,
did,
like
yes.
not like
Very cool.
Awesome.
You know, and like
How's it going? Do we have any new friends in here today that want to, say a little about what they're doing?
I haven't really seen too many. I'm trying to think.
I mean,
Horst,
I'm new.
Yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. Hello, I'm Woodrow. Yeah, so I'm going to be working with Spatial Ape doing a little bit of video editing and other various things. I guess we'll see what happens with promoting it and making the platform as appealing as possible to people from the outside. I actually just finished taking a class with XR Elise earlier today. She's kind of the representative from XR, but it's a 12-week kind of XR development boot camp. So I'm sort of just jumping into it. Yeah, just looking forward to being a part of the XR community. I'm still very new, so with me.
Awesome. You're playing in the right place. What about you, Horst? What brings you in here?
You can't learn everything. No one can learn everything.
Horst
Oh.
is not available right now.
Did we lose him?
You gotta decide
You may have
what's
lost
the
him.
thing
That's all right.
you're the best at.
Horse is hanging.
The other things that I need.
Hi, Vorian.
Hi guys. Yeah. So I'm Tracy. I'm or Vorian. You can look up my my screen name on Twitter, and you'll see the real me. We do virtual showroom for the fashion industry. We actually started in VR, with mobile VR, but then the adoption was actually really slow, especially for the fashion industry because it's a more traditional fashion industry. So we had to scale back to provide it, to offer it on a web app. But like VR is definitely still on the back burner, and we're gonna get back, like into offering the, the virtual showrooms for brands, in an immersive experience. Yeah,
That's really
and
cool.
potentially looking for a CTO.
That's awesome. Where can we follow? Is Twitter the best place to follow up with you?
LinkedIn or Twitter. If you search up my screen name on Twitter, you'll see my real name, and then you can find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If one of these weeks you'd like to, dive deeper into what y'all do on a stream, I'd love to.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'll send you a message on Twitter.
Yes.
Also, if you're not aware already, spatialape.com is our website where we kind of stay connected in between events.
Okay. All right. We'll check it out.
Cool.
And just tell them, talk to them, start working, blog it, man. Figure it,
Who else has got?
Do you guys
something?
work with
Horses.
any? Do you work with any specific brands?
I'm
That's what
sorry.
asked.
I needed to go. My signal was so
it's
weak.
back.
I needed to go. Sorry.
Horst is back.
I'm back. Sorry. Everyone was just breaking up. I didn't hear anything, so I need to go.
Yeah, that happens. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. What a great place here. I think Spatial Ape is really something good here on Outspace because I'm searching for other people who want to develop their own things, who want to create stuff for VR to create experiences. So great to be here. Great to hear the story of Ryan. I'm a sound designer, so I'm creating sounds. I originate from creating sounds for films, so I was always on the lookout for ambiences, for the right ambience, for kind of space like this one here, or for golf courses or whatever. And when the Oculus Rift came out, I bought a VR microphone, and since then, like 4 years, 5 years, I'm on the road and recording sounds wherever I'm at. So I've been to many places in USA and many places in Europe just to record background ambiences. And we do have a store now where we do sell these background ambiences. And it's slowly coming together, and it's I think that's a great place, because if somebody of you has some input on that, of what background ambience you would use in your world, or what you would need, then let's talk about that, because I'm eager to learn what you guys would like to have.
What do you think should go in here?
Yeah, so we would do some space sounds. We would do some
nice.
We would do some
ambiance lighting too.
Some minimal
Together with the
ambiences,
sound,
like Tron
then
sounds.
moves with the
It's
sound, yeah.
it looks a bit like Tron for me. So I would use some spaceships and design that. So what I really do with MBXs with my company is I record actual ambiences. So like, what's it sound like in Hyde Park? What is Times Square sounding like? What's it like in Montmartre in Paris? How does Austria sound like? So that's what I do, and not like artificial spaces. But good to hear that you would look for that.
What is
Yeah.
your website?
It's mbxs.com. So like
mbxs.com. Cool.
mbxs.com. It is.
Definitely encourage you to post that URL on spatialsleep.com because I think a lot of people in our
Yeah.
community would be thrilled to take a look at that.
So
Yeah,
when you say you purchased a VR microphone, do you mean one of those binaural microphones that simulates capturing from the right ear and the left ear separately?
Yeah, it could be rendered down to binaural, but that's a small microphone. It looks just like a regular singing microphone, and it has 4 capsules in it, so it can record every direction you really get sound into. So you can do something like Dolby Atmos, you can do binaural, you can do stereo, and you can use it in ambisonics in Unity. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have any concert hall environments? I'm in the market for a concert hall ambient sound.
Yeah, actually we do. We do have some smaller ones and a big one. So
look at that.
We get in touch and
yeah, you might have a customer right here.
Give you something to try out, right?
Let's talk.
Yeah.
Mike, what is Meteor Station?
Well, we do a lot of different things in VR. We have a YouTube channel. Meteor Station has a YouTube channel with a lot of all VR, some animations, some cooking shows, some travel, checking out a brewery in Austin, and but we also do a podcast. So we post our podcast on YouTube, and then also the normal podcast platforms, and it's just called Meteor Station VR. We talked to some really interesting people. The most recent one, we talked to Jack Pottle, who's with Oxford University, and he does medical VR. So he trains doctors and nurses through VR, and he's a great speaker. It's really interesting. We've got the guy behind Medium at Adobe. Does anybody use Medium?
Have before, sure.
Yeah. So he's going to be on in February.
Very cool.
And then in March, we're talking to the people from Veer, if you know them. So, yeah.
Nice. That's
and
awesome.
then we've got a group that is working on a medical application. So,
who is it?
A lot of different things.
That's awesome. Are you from Austin by chance?
Yeah.
Nice. We're Austin guys. Me and Tony.
Are you in Austin now?
Tony is. I'm in San Francisco right now, but I grew up in Austin.
Oh, okay. Well, so actually outside of Austin, Dripping Springs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep.
That's
but
cool.
I say Austin because people don't know where Dripping Springs is. Yeah.
Understandably. That's really cool in terms of your building that media channel. When did you start doing that?
A couple years ago. Yeah. So I'll put the link on your site. That's a good idea.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to check it out. Yeah, cool. How's it going, TechMad? Come in.
It looks like he's messing around with his menus.
Ah, sorry. I was trying to get
there he
organized.
is.
Hi, everyone.
No worries. How you doing?
I'm just here to have a listen. There's something to do in
Great.
the afternoon. Maybe
Fantastic.
learn something new. Meet some people.
Yeah, great.
Thanks.
What's behind the name? What kind of tech are you mad at?
When I came from Australia, obviously you can hear my accent, but I live here in Texas, Dallas at the moment. I've been here for 3 years.
Sweet.
But back home, I started a consultancy company called Technology Management and Design Proprietary Limited, and it just naturally abbreviated to Tech MAD. So I had that domain in Australia, and I got techmad.com here in the US, and that's me.
Like it.
Cool.
Very cool.
That's a better origin story than the Spatial Ape name, which was Tony was on GoDaddy one day and he was like, "Oh my God, Spatial Ape! How do we not own this?" And then like a year and a half later, we were like, "Don't we have that domain?" Absolutely no like reasoning behind it other than it just sounded kind of cool and like I like the thought.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Our main business, our consultancy business, is spatial cinematics too, so it kind of fits together.
Okay, I'll say it. What the heck is spatial cinematics?
Everyone was thinking that. Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. That's kind of our main money-making business that we started with. I guess the best way to describe it is we're an immersive software studio. So we got started really just doing kind of custom consulting projects in AR and VR. And then slowly over the last 2 or 3 years have shifted towards licensing and long-term deals and our own products, this being one of them. Yeah.
I noticed that the big screen has come back. Is that for a specific reason, or is it just to have something to focus on?
That is there for a very specific reason, which is the communication between me and my designer.
Nicely put.
But it's a valuable information,
Like,
basically.
it's
isn't
cool. You can do cool stuff with the browser, but it really needs to have someone operating it. The whole, like someone needs to be dedicated towards controlling it because it's too much to manage if you're hosting and talking to people and that kind of thing. So maybe in a couple weeks when we do our larger event, I think we may start to incorporate that more. If you see behind the browser is our work in progress of what the community portal is going to be like, where you're going to be able to link to all these other events. But yeah,
very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone ends up having ideas about other partner orgs they want to see in this event? Next month, point where there's 20, 30 different groups kind of going concurrently on space every Thursday, which would be great. Who else has got something?
Well, I'm curious, are you thinking of keeping it the sort of different groups as focused on XR developers, or will there be an aspect that's just for sort of the population as a whole, XR fans, so that they can see, new stuff that might be coming out?
I think so. The event as it relates to us, I think it's going to be focused on XR business. So that includes like the creative stuff, but it's anyone that's trying to build a business. But like we're going to have a side quest room in here, and for them, they're going to be inviting tons of fans, right? Like a lot of people in that room are not going to be developers at all. So our reason for reaching out to these groups is going to be this to build a network of VR businesses, but each of the individual orgs, if they're consumer facing, their guests are going to be consumers. Yeah.
I have a random question for the room as a whole. As a new developer, is anyone in here developed for VR not on Unity or Unreal Engine? Does anyone use an engine other than those two? Because it feels like every project I see is on those two. What else have you used?
So I was interested to develop on these platforms, but I wanted a complete native web client, and I looked at A-Frame, which is pure JavaScript library for VR, and it works quite nicely. But it doesn't have a marketplace like Oculus, the Quest 2 store, for example. But it's web native. It's WebXR native, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
You don't need it's not bound to any vendor of any sort.
Check out Mozilla Hubs. It's probably like the best WebXR app out there that I know of. It's pretty cool, and it's all open source. So if you like it, you can just download it and see how they do everything in there.
Cool.
We have another
And you
developer in
can
our
set up your own
community.
server.
You can set up your own server. Yeah.
Yes, you can. We have another developer in our community, Michael. He makes VR workout, and his entire app is built in Godot, which is an open source engine. It's an alternative to Unity and Unreal. It's like really impressive what he's doing there. I mean, he's having to build all kinds of tooling and from scratch to make that work really well. But he's a really talented engineer and has done a great job with it.
Sorry, what was the name of that again? You said
Godot. I think it's Godot.
Yeah.
Godot.
It is.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
And there's also a new free engine from Poland that they released, but it's rather small. So there are several ones now on the market. Also, there's this Unigine or Yun engine, or that's quite a long time on there, but very expensive.
Yeah, one of the cool
Ever since
things. Go ahead.
Just going to say, ever since Unity's IPO, everyone's jumping on the game engine bandwagon.
Yeah. Rightfully so. One of the cool things about Michael's approach is Michael's building VR workout is itself open source. And so it was really important to him to keep his whole tool chain open source. So he's building, not only is he building an open source app, but basically all of his tools are open source. Blender, Godot, everything he uses, which is really cool.
I've got a left wing question, if you don't mind, guys. I was kind of wondering if anyone here would have comments why we don't already see like a Zoom conferencing client on the Quest 2 store. I mean, is it just technically difficult? Is Zoom kind of lock it down? Because, I mean, I'd love to join a Zoom conference call in VR. I mean, I'm just surprised it hasn't already been done yet.
I think it has been done. Maybe it's not available on the Quest store, but I've certainly seen videos of people connecting to Zoom calls in VR. So I can't remember the name of the software, but I think it is available.
Well, I'll check SideQuest. Yeah, maybe it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I'll stick a link on Spatial Ape if I find it again.
Well, when you broadcast to your Facebook page, I think that was possible, wasn't it? To stream to your Facebook with a live stream, and then just take that one from Facebook over to Zoom.
Ah, that's clever. Yeah.
But the Facebook stream is a recording of what you're seeing, right? Not a recording of like you as a virtual avatar like we are now.
That's right. That's what you see. Yeah. You need a virtual mirror.
Well, what I was thinking is because obviously no one in the Zoom call wants to see a video of you with a headset on, but you want to see everyone. So you could have everyone in tiles on the screen, and for the participants on computers, they'd probably see you as a fox or something, some animated avatar that, as you talk, your lips move and your hands move. I think, what's it called? Face Rig is pretty cool. If you haven't seen that, it allows you to have a real-time rendered animation avatar, and it passes it through to the webcam driver of your computer, so the computer doesn't know, the Zoom doesn't know the difference, which is kind of neat. But something like that would be a great app idea, just fun, just because like if so many people are joining Zoom calls for work and just turning up in an avatar and just be able to see everyone in VR and talk like that would be just fun.
Yeah, potentially being able to share spatial objects and 3D objects, even though it's a flat screen for everybody else. You could rotate things and show them things up close in a way that it wouldn't be possible, or would be more difficult, I guess, on Zoom.
Yeah, you could be pointing on the screen as you're doing your presentation. You could be sort of pointing to parts of the presentation, and it much makes it much more immersive for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even you can scan your room that you're in. So I'm really obsessed with the new iPhone, and I scanned every room that I really have. It could be cool to have a conversation in your actual room on VR.
Totally.
Yeah, there's a room
Yep.
mapping app, I think,
Yeah.
on SideQuest. I've not tried it out yet.
Oh, is
but
it?
I've seen it.
Is there really? You can
Yeah, yeah, on SideQuest.
But it doesn't automatically do it using the headset cameras, right? You
No, I
place
think it just
things.
yeah,
I
it's
see.
a tool set to create it manually. I think not scan it like a lidar scanner.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Hmm.
I
I'm
did that
curious if,
several years ago
man,
with.
Everyone started talking at the same time. Go ahead, Chris.
I did that scanning stuff and recreation with Google Tango 2017. That was quite nice. Almost more or less the same way you do that with the iOS today. So also works with other devices. But I think still the quality of the scans is really, really well rough. Let's say.
a lot better than Google Tango, though.
Yeah,
I
Tango
remember
is quite dead.
I learned how to make an app on Google Tango in like 2016, and I thought I was about 10 minutes away from being a millionaire.
Yeah,
It didn't quite work
was
out that way.
a wild time. It's sad.
Um,
When you think about that Tango was dropped because ARKit started, and everyone said, "Oh, we don't need something like a sensor for that, a time-of-flight sensor or something." And what happened? Apple introduced a time-of-flight sensor in the end. It's quite funny.
yeah, Apple's like becoming this technology leader now. It's like kind of weird.
Yeah, and AR Core is quite behind. I mean, it's really sad to say that, but you don't see so much in development. But ARKit is getting more and more features.
Yeah, one of the most advanced AR companies that doesn't yet have a headset. Feels like it's just a small gap in their product offering.
I don't know if this
Is
is
anybody
new information, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was wondering, has anybody been doing any work with the lidar scanner and the augmented reality composer? In the iPhone 12 Pro Max for AR development.
Tony? Have you done anything with
Not
that?
with Reality Composer, no. What sort of feature sets are available with the? I mean, I don't think you have access to actually scan an environment in Reality Composer, do you?
I don't know. I've just started messing around. I was listening to what Horst was saying, and I have an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I started using the lidar scanner, the Polycam app, and
Yeah.
doing scans of my my
Yeah,
room. And I'm
yes.
wondering
Hmm.
what can you bring those into Unity and work with those?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You have to, yeah, I use Polycam as well. I tried out some others as well, but Polycam did a job. And it's sometimes rough, as you said, Chris, and sometimes it's just too detailed. And then you have to put it into Blender and scale it down and decimate. Yeah, I'm a Blender user now for 3 months. It's fun to learn Blender, and then from Blender to Unity, it really did the job of putting it into VR.
Okay. Can you set up the sensitivity or the depth of that sensor? I never used this Apple thing, just Tango yet, so I don't know how detailed you can set it up to say I want more details or.
You can't
I
change the
think,
resolution of it. I mean, you can
yeah,
just artificially lower it, but
Okay.
they don't have a way to crank it up. It's just
Oh,
whatever
right.
you get.
yeah,
Okay.
you can overscan. You can scan and for minutes and just until the iPhone crashes, like 5 minutes scan and then it crashes, and that's the grade of detail you get.
Oh, detailed crash is also nice. Yeah.
That's right.
How big are the file sizes when you export scanned models? Is it manageable or?
Absolutely manageable. Yeah, like from 3 megabyte to what was it? 70 megabyte max, but these were like 5-minute scans of whole rooms and some detail portions where I was just a bit over enthusiastic about what all to scan. So yes, this was like 70.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I had quite good
70
results of scanning the whole thing first and then scanning some details and putting it all together in Blender.
Right. But you really have to match it by yourself by hand in the end. There's nothing that can automatically cut it into pieces so that you can easily mount it together. Like the axis of the model is at the definitely on the left side, or you can do that in Blender, but you don't get to
Yes.
set it up. Okay.
And that's no, not that I know, but that's the fun part. You know, it's like a puzzle. It's
Okay.
such a cool 3D puzzle. I enjoyed it. That was the fun part.
So if you
Cleaning up
like
is
that,
not
you
fun.
have to. Yeah, that's right. If you like that puzzling, there is something called puzzling places. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
and that's a 3D app where you can puzzle 3D scanned objects together.
Yeah, check it
Alright.
out on
Yeah.
SideQuest. It's a really, really fun game. I tried it out intending to spend about 5 minutes testing it, spent about an hour and a half putting together these tiny pieces. It's great fun.
Yeah. But so when with ARKit, you can leverage world maps to get that information to get context of where you're scanning. Like if you scanned a room, you could potentially then relocalize to the room and be aware of like a specific object that you're scanning, and then export that
with
data.
world anchors.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's obviously a lot of overhead, and not as fun as
it's
puzzling them together.
right. Yeah, for example, and it's more like because it's more about the post production. Let's say when you want to put the world together just to import it into your game or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the different attempt in that case. But I'm quite curious how this stuff is developing. If they're really putting the sensor into all their products. I thought that the standard iPads also had the sensor when they released them last year, but it was not the case. So I was a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone saw the news, but there's a Washington Post, or was it Washington Post? Well, Mark Gurman
Bloomberg, maybe?
released, Bloomberg released details on what the Apple VR headset's going to be, and apparently the first release is going to be this like very high-end VR headset. That's going to be pretty niche.
Sounds
but,
good.
Would it be
That'll
like
be pretty
a
exciting.
More excited than I get.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to have
Hey.
pass-through capabilities, yeah.
Hey, what's
But
up? How you doing?
more focus on just really high-quality VR, and maybe standalone.
Yeah,
You liking it
standalone.
so far?
That's what I heard. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that will be interesting.
Oh.
And the price point.
Yeah,
There
I
was
think it's going to be a lot.
There was a very informative Tyrael Wood video that he just put up this morning about that, actually. I don't know if you guys, he's a pretty popular VR YouTuber,
Yeah.
but he kind of compiled all of the information, all the leaks so far about that Apple headset. So if you want to check it out, it's his video from
Okay.
this morning.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I will do that.
Sorry, what was that on?
Thanks.
The video? Where can I find that?
Tyrael Wood, he's a VR YouTuber. He does reviews of headsets and games and stuff.
Okay.
But this morning,
Thanks.
yeah, if you look up his channel, he put up the news about the Apple headset.
Do you all think that that's the trend, that more of these manufacturers are going to start making XR headsets rather than an AR headset and a VR headset, but possibly everything, to be done in one standalone unit, right?
I think so.
Did anyone catch the CES conference highlights? So CES is that annual high tech conference that they do every year in Vegas, but this year they did virtually. So I saw that Panasonic brought out a badass sort of Google Glass equivalent, but it was flat, but it's consumer grade, so they look like a normal pair of glasses with a heads-up display. So I think there's going to be applications that people just do AR because it makes sense for the application. But I don't see why every new VR headset wouldn't have pass-through capabilities unless they're looking for lighter, cheaper. I think that's why the Quest doesn't have pass-through, because it would change the price point, I guess. The Quest 2 anyway.
There was a company, I think about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, a French company called Lynx, and they were one of the first headsets. They produced a headset that used one of the first XR2 chips, and the whole idea with it was it was supposed to be an XR headset. That's what they were marketing it for. I haven't heard anything about it. One of the standout features was supposed to be the optics that they were putting inside the unit, and I haven't heard anything about the company since then. But that was the idea that they would make a high quality XR headset to do everything.
Was too advanced for their time, probably. It's like the Google glasses, they just gave up because it was too early.
Yeah, definitely. There's a HoloLens conference next month. Microsoft's doing a big, I think it's March, a big HoloLens conference, and they're pushing their whole Dynamics platform, which is, it started off as an accounting package really, but they're marketing the Microsoft integration for VR is building apps on Dynamics apparently. So that'll be interesting what Microsoft's saying in March.
Well, because there is from what I've heard, I've never been able to try one, sadly, but the Vario headsets essentially are full AR and VR headsets, right? I guess it's more like VR that augments reality into the headset. From what I heard, there's no transparent element to the headset, but it does combine reality with VR. So we kind of know how expensive that would be, because those headsets are like thousands and thousands of dollars, I think.
Yeah, I think they're like 5,000 or something.
Yeah.
But what about the add-ons that you could just bring in one of the treadmills, or I've seen a guy who's building basically like a little vert ramp that is like you can unstack it and put together, and then there are little cameras in all the corners, and they're planning to use it for first responders. Like and those things only cost somewhere between like $1,000, $2,000 on top of the $500 headset, right? And then anybody with half a brain could, just buy the $300 Rift or whatever, and set up a cord. And it's like anybody who's ever done construction, you know how to tie a cord together so that it doesn't pull, right?
Interesting.
Sorry.
No,
Many
it's cool.
companies whose goal is to get into and use VR for medical. Companies that want to use. What's that?
Also, they just raised $40 million to do surgical training in VR. They're probably the biggest.
Okay. How would you spell that?
OSSO.
OSSO. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm starting to notice
they're
that.
really interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's all I got.
So sorry, I just walked in. What's the purpose here? Because I literally just got a computer today, and I was planning on creating content. And I'd love to be the next, giant VR game. Because how cool would that be, right? But yeah, I don't know. Every time I come into alt space, I love hearing people talk about like, oh, we're developing countries, and we're about to replace 3D or injection molding with 3D printing, and VR could help with all that somehow. And it's like, oh my god, that's incredible, right? But I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what the topic of conversation here is. What are we? Is this like business for general, or are we talking about like how we're trying to expand the VR world? What's our direction?
It's general. All the skill sets that you need to make a project, bring an idea to life, which could be coding, it could be art, it could be fundraising a business. We tend to cover all those things.
Okay, and that's what I was scared of because when you read up on what is actually required, it's a giant project, and you're like, oh, I understand why they use massive companies and like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to create these games now. Because if I had to take this all on my own, it would take years, right? But
Sure.
yeah, so what's the starting basis? What would your first place to go be if you wanted to start creating?
Well, do you
I
have...
actually,
Go ahead, Proctor.
I just took a class actually. There was a representative from the company that holds the class here earlier today, but they're called XR Terra, and they run like 12-week boot camps. You can do it online, and they run you basically from zero of how do I even download and open Unity to making some really awesome VR and AR stuff. With a team of 4. That's where I started. So you might want to look up XR Terra.
Okay, that's the other,
because
like every time you look at boot camps, they say they're like, not what they're supposed to be. But you're saying that boot camps are actually helpful?
Well, I can't speak for all of them, obviously, but I just finished one in particular, and I feel like I learned a lot from it. I had previous, I went to school for computer science, so I had a coding background, but I had never worked with any kind of 3D rendering software. Like I hadn't used Unity, I hadn't used Blender before, and they got me to a point where now I'm messing around on my own and I'm making all sorts of cool stuff in Unity.
Now I've heard of Python, and I know that Unity. I mean, like I've looked up Python jobs and they mention it. Yeah, what boot camp did you go to? What's the what do I need to look up to get into it?
It's called XR Terra. There are a few, so you might want to check out whatever might fit you the best. But the one that I went to was XR Terra. I had a great time and I learned a lot.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I took a certification course at a community college for immersive media. It was a 2-year program, and everything kind of fell apart because of the pandemic, and everything moved online. And when I was nearing the end of the program, and I was supposed to have, a class that would introduce me to coding in C#, and all of a sudden that class was not available anymore because of the pandemic. They couldn't get the teacher. So I'm going to be taking C#, intro to C# for the first time this coming semester. I really. Someone get rid of that guy.
I kicked
I don't know anything about programming, and I learned, the basics about VR production, spatial audio. It was an immersive media program, and I feel like I left without the kind of core skills that I needed because I don't know anything about C# or programming at all.
You can find tons of courses online as well to dig into it. I mean, you could start, and there's on YouTube you'll find hundreds probably, and there are a lot of quite good ones. And for the very starters, just to know what variables are and what kind of types there are and all that stuff, it's quite good to start, in my opinion.
How do you feel about
Stanford, which is one of the best.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Stanford, which is one of the best. They're one of the best CS programs, computer science programs, and all their courses are free online.
Oh wow, I didn't know they were free. What do you feel about learning C# through something like a visual scripting program like Bolt? Is that a way to kind of baby step your way through it, to kind of grasp the concepts before you kind of get into C#?
Well, that depends, in my opinion. I mean, visual languages, like also in Unreal, yeah. The point is when you code, in my opinion, it's more like making your own structure and having the overview and how to use your variables or types or whatever kind of stuff you're doing if you're working with so-called structures that are more advanced in the end. And I guess those things like delegates, things that are jumping into other functions and stuff, I don't think that you will have that on the scripting languages. I don't know if it's not worked too much with those languages, but I think that coding in the end is a bit different when you really write it instead of working with the with those predefined modules, let's say.
To learn the concepts of programming in a visual way, something that's less abstract, than jumping right into C# or any other kind of programming language. That this visual scripting, this visual programming, by linking modules together, different functions together, would teach someone the basic concepts of trying to build a program.
I actually feel like working. Oh, go ahead.
Did you ever program in any language yet?
I have not, no. And this semester I'll be taking C#, and that's the first time I've ever started to. It'll be the first time I've ever started a program.
Okay. So no basic, nothing. All right.
I actually feel like if you're worried about just, sort of this introduction to programming and feeling like you're in over your head, I think coding in C# specifically connected to Unity is actually kind of a nice way to start, because it's object-oriented programming in which you can literally see the objects. And, when you apply something to them, if you make them move or something, you can actually see it happen. So I feel like connecting the thoughts of what is going on in code to, I don't know, a more real world, a more human idea of like something happening to an object, Unity is actually a great place to start for that. So I feel like maybe just diving in, to one of those tutorials online where it's like, this is how you do some basic stuff in Unity, you might actually adapt to it more quickly than you're thinking.
That's cool to hear, because for me, C# is just such a dry thing, such a big unknown thing that I am afraid of getting into. It's cool to hear that that you can see the objects that you program. Thanks for that. Yeah.
I was coming
on the other
from
hand,
Java language and tried start with just the Unity tutorials, and I felt very comfortable with C# coming from a Java background.
Sure, because
So
they're very
it's
similar.
easy to switch a language if you know one object-oriented language.
Yeah, I think as with anything, it really matters what it is you're interested in. It matters what your end goal is. If your end goal is to make games in Unity, then I think starting with C# and making basic games in Unity is a good first step. However, if you're not very interested in that, if you want to do something, if you want to make little standalone scripts, then maybe Python or something else might be a better choice. So it comes down to what is your goal.
Question: what's the language that Outspace uses? I noticed that when you have custom worlds, you have to produce code and 3D models and host them and make them available to Outspace, right? How does that work?
That's a good question. It's
I can tell you
basically
about
have
that.
two things, in my opinion, right? You can use Unity, or you have to use Unity to... Hello? Are you breaking
These
up?
little badges, we use the Allspace plugin. It's Node.
You're breaking up for me, sorry.
He said
you're breaking up.
Node.js.
Yeah.
He said the Node.js was used for the badges. But I think in general, you can build spaces in Unity and C# for Altspace. I think I'm right in saying that.
So these badges were done just pure in JavaScript. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yes.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's handy. I like JavaScript. That's the language, my easy language.
But isn't script forbidden in Altspace?
In C#, yes. That's why you have to use another thing. We have two things. We have Unity, but in Unity you would just allow to use the standard stuff, like putting in a model and stuff like that. And if you want to do something like those badges that are there, you have to use something called MREs, and those are Node.js, so JavaScripted, extra scripts that you have to assign to your world, basically.
Sorry, what's the MRE stand for? Because that's meal ready to eat in my world.
Mixed reality.
Okay, that's cool.
There are tutorials for mixed reality extensions and how to start.
Yeah, look up MRE. Just Google MRE Altspace, and there's an MRE repo, and there's a whole repo with samples and documentation. Um, it was approachable. You basically you node script, you put it on a server with its own endpoint, and then you point the environment to the server, and it loads up that little script.
Okay, maybe I just give it a try.
Yeah, it's,
me too.
With it.
But in a few years' time, it's probably going to be everyone will probably be able to build applications just through AI, I guess.
In the future?
Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
I've thought
Yeah.
about that. What if, kind of like artificial intelligence will be sold kind of like an operating along with your operating system, right? And it'll kind of explain to it what you want to do, and it'll handle all the heavy lifting and kind of do all the programming for you at some point, right?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
Oh,
It's less complicated than learning all the coding.
So come back next week.
Thinking...
God, that would be terrible.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's I think someone. I think Dude was saying something.
No.
I was kind of expecting with all the development, artificial intelligence, I'm kind of expecting that a lot more of these programs will start offering AI-based helpers inside the program, to help you get through kind of without, so it can kind of make the learning curve easier, and like you're saying, at some point they might actually have artificial intelligence that just
with the creativity.
Yeah, and there's a lot of abstractions built on top of code that are essentially tools to help people code, like Dreams. It's like a video game that lets you make video games, and Roblox. I mean, a bunch of kids are playing with Roblox,
What
and
is
they're making
Dreams?
their
I
own
saw
world.
that. It's a PlayStation game, right? Was that what it was? I saw that.
Yeah, it's
What
a
is that
PlayStation game. It's basically a PlayStation game. You create your own levels, but you can make the look and the feel of your characters and the environments. You can define all of that and define the behaviors of everything inside the game. But
So
you're
is it kind
making
of
it
like...
all inside of a game, so you
So
don't
it's
need to
kind of
actually
like
use a keyboard. It's node-based programming essentially.
Oh, I see. All right. Kind of like a light game engine kind of.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, it is a game engine, except you don't write any code. Everything gets defined visually.
You think everything's moving towards that way, like more and more abstraction to make things easier to use?
Well, I think the tools are being developed to help people program without actually having to program. Yeah, and basically programming with training wheels, and obviously you're going to be more limited in what you can build, because anything you want to build has to get defined by that world, and obviously the more freedom a world creates or an engine creates, it's a lot more complicated to use. So it's going to be about balancing that. I mean, even in VR, that's what Facebook Horizons is about. It's also giving people the ability to create their own worlds. And so what you can call programming is going to get kind of messy, because I mean, even today, most programmers write code, with some sort of language that interacts with the microprocessors and converts their code into assembly language. So even they aren't actually talking to the computer directly. That the assembly language actually interacting with the transistors, and it's just so it's all just different levels of abstraction. And
There's like low and high abstraction, right? Like
Mhm.
machine code would be low abstraction, and some object-oriented program would be high abstraction, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Every
It's
layer
gonna
of
be the
abstraction,
same.
though.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say every layer of abstraction, even if it's relatively small, does add a sort of performance overhead or some sort of performance limitation. So if we're going to talk about like Dreams is made for a specific console, like Sony manufactures the actual metal of that console. It's not running on any computer you could buy. So they're able to optimize the way that engine works, more specific to the hardware that you're using. So the more generic things become, yes, it becomes easier to develop, but you do end up hitting, I guess, just performance limitations, or even if it's not limitations, there are certain things that you do more effectively.
But I'm just thinking about this point. Like we had so many different languages popping up that should, for example, simplify coding. Like does anyone knows processing? This language processing?
No.
It's basically, I think, based on Java or JavaScript. I'm not exactly sure, and should be something like where you can just write a line of code and then you have, it's very graphical. You have a box or a circle or something like that, without starting to say I need something like drawing in C# and then generate all that stuff. It's just lines of code and you have a circle or whatever kind of things, and I don't see. Because you also have a lot of restrictions there. You cannot get to the core where you want to go. I don't see too many people using it in the end, because for a certain purpose it's nice to have those simplifications, 3 lines of code and you have some stuff. But I don't see this full package of possibilities that you have in the other, languages. So I'm just curious if there will be any time of a scripting language. Maybe Unreal is the nearest with those blueprints, but where you can really do a lot of programming in a visual scripting environment that is giving you almost all the same possibilities like in coding.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to find something you can't do.
Yeah.
Mhm. Did anyone ever use the CryEngine 2 editor? They had their whole AI system was done through flow graphs. This was like years ago. I remember like when Crisis first came out, it came with there's no one else did this. That was my first time even just kind of messing around for fun with a 3D engine, and I remember but their AI system, which runs entirely on this flow graph, so there's no coding involved. You're just connecting boxes with wires basically, is infamously slow on a CPU, and that's the reason why that game, even now on a much more modern system, still doesn't run very well, because there's this CPU bottleneck because they have all of this dense code that you can't really optimize because it's all running on this flow graph system.
Yeah. Has anyone tried Facebook Horizons yet? Anyone on the beta?
Should we?
I'm in Europe. I can't.
Isn't it really hard to get in? I've heard that it's really hard to get in.
Yeah, supposedly they've been opening it up, but I've not met somebody other than bigger name YouTubers that has gone the beta yet.
Someone mentioned to me Neos. Have you heard of it?
No.
Apparently, it's a very advanced version of VR, so you can create your own avatar, and the avatar style are unlimited. You can duplicate objects and give them to each other. There's plenty of things. It's well, the person who told me said it's a very geeky world, but there's plenty of people to help. So it's called Neos, Neos. And I've seen some photograph of what they're doing. It's pretty amazing in terms of design. It's probably the most advanced version for creating worlds.
Okay.
You gotta check it out.
Speaking of programming for non-programmers, so I want to bring in something that I've found. Maybe you have some repetitive tasks in your professional life, like you have to do like 100 pictures opening in Photoshop and renaming them, and then later bring them on into an Excel sheet. Then later you need to upload them to Later or whatever browser application. I found Power Automate from Microsoft, and there you can really put in some steps. First step is define a variable and even get some MySQL tables out of that, and use many computers in your environment. It's just amazing, and I love it. It's such a powerful tool to really automate things that are going on. And previously it was called WinAutomation. And earlier than that, I used my Mac environment, and there it was called Quickies. And it's just such a great way of getting more productivity, getting more things going on. And watching the computer doing its things, it's just magical for me.
Yeah, I
Is
have
that
a
installed
question.
by default on Windows? Is that available
Sorry?
for everyone? Is that installed by default, or is that downloadable?
You have to be on a plan. You have to be on a Power Automate plan, I think it is. It's not expensive. So in terms of what it brings to me, to my business, it's a good price. It's a good price value. I think it's $800 a year.
Okay.
And I think you can have a peek into that. You can have a look into that for free.
Yeah, I had a
And
question
it's
for
so
you guys that are
fun.
programmers. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be taking a course for C# coming up here in a couple of weeks, and it'll be the first time I'm getting to programming. And I'm wondering what are kind of the core concepts of starting when you begin to program. What are the core concepts that you have to learn? Like, what is it about programming? What are the core ideas that one would have to grasp to kind of move forward?
That's a good question.
Logic
That's a
classes, any
big
sort of
question.
logic classes would be helpful.
Logic classes, okay.
Like,
And
yeah.
also object orientation. So C# is an object orientated language. So if you can get your head around what that means, what it means to have different objects and have them interacting, then you'll already be a few steps ahead.
So does that mean, like, when you say an object-oriented programming, is that to say, like, a function is an object, like, and you kind of connect them together? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm not going to
Somehow,
explain this well. It's been years since I was actually taught this, so I probably will do a terrible job. But essentially, the way I think about it is all of your code is related to something in real life or something in your program. So if you have a dog, it will have a dog class, and that will be attached to the dog. And then the dog might interact with the bone, and the bone will be a separate class, and those are your objects. It gets a lot more complicated than that, but that's the basics.
Okay.
I would also put at least a little bit of time into understanding like what efficient code means, you know, because coming from an outside perspective, someone says like try and write something that is more efficient, like you're, you know, wasting processing power here. I mean, when it comes to if you're going to be doing Unity stuff and making VR, it's as simple sometimes as instead of having something run every single frame to check if something has happened, you know, making it so that it's limited to when a certain action takes place, then you run the check, because every time you run a line of code, that's a tiny amount of time that you're losing in terms of what your computer can produce in, you know, the next frame with. So I don't know, just a little bit of the basic concept of what even that is might help you as you go forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as
Well,
math is
I think-
concerned, like
I
how...
think there's. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go ahead. Chris, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think that's one of the most important things for you in this case, when you just want to learn the language C#, or you want to learn it especially to make games, because what he said before is important. If you program for a game, you always have to think about this fact that you are rendering something every single frame. And if you have 60 frames per second, you have every 60, 60 seconds, you have some things to do to get a picture out. But if you're just programming for making a form to get some data from a database, you won't have all that concept in to think about. So it's a very different approach, in my opinion. So I think you should first think about, do I want to learn C# on the purpose of making games, or do I also want to use it for other stuff? And if you want to do it also for other stuff, I would start without making games, without a game engine, to learn the concepts. And there are some very basic concepts. They're called object orientation and polymorphism and all that stuff. So I think you should really, in that case, you should take a look on those basic concepts and then go step up. But it really depends where your focus is in the end.
Well, I am taking this class specifically for immersive media apps, and
Okay.
I want to create enterprise applications for VR. So that's why I would be taking C#, so I can, understand how to do scripting inside Unity.
Yeah. Okay. So in this case, you're oriented to like game engines, and in that case, it's a good attempt to start with Unity, for example, or Godot maybe. But I think Unity has much more references.
And to follow up to your math question, linear algebra is probably where you want to start to get an idea of 3D worlds and how to compute different types of information like rays and
yeah,
the size of objects and
Okay. I just barely got. I mean, math is my weak point. I just barely graduated from community college with an associate's degree, and I was just barely able to get out, through the required math for that. So I'm kind of programming kind of scares me in that respect because of the math aspect of it.
As a fellow terrible mathematician, I wouldn't worry too much. You don't need to be a good mathematician. You can learn just what you need for programming.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the math you need is already there. That's are functions you call. Just must need to know which functions you need.
Okay. So don't let that scare me, right? Like
most of the really intense math is really on a part of the actual game engine creators. You like matrices and actual doing the code that renders a 3D object requires, I think, a lot more math than just coding, game logic in Unity. I also don't think I don't love math very much, but it doesn't really intimidate me doing the math required for Unity.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
What's the job market like? Is anyone doing this for a living? I'm trying to see what the market is like for as far as careers.
I think it's growing. I don't know too much about it myself.
I mean, it's easy
great,
to. You
sorry,
see, I see articles all the time popping up about new industries that are starting to adopt game engines to for marketing purpose, for educational purposes. You have architectural. I mean, using game engines for all sorts of things is starting to become more and more. It's something that a lot of industries are starting to adopt, right? In VR,
right?
The capabilities of VR, it seems like it's going to be the dominant way in which people communicate. Communicate or do any kind of training or visualization or any kind of interaction. So obviously, these game engines are a core part of how those experiences are created. And I would think that as we move forward over the next 5 years or so, you're going to see jobs start to be created that are have something to do with understanding game engine or programming or any sort of production skills in VR. That's what I would think. I mean, I see a lot of stuff on news, and I see they talk about this industry, and it seems like it's just ready to explode.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I have seen a lot on LinkedIn as far as job opportunities, but they're kind of limited right now.
That's one of the reasons I'm trying to get started. And I took this immersive media course, and I'm trying to gain more skills in this industry because I see it as something that's going to be a huge paradigm shift. There's going to be a lot of jobs and opportunities especially over the next 5 years.